Donald Trump. We're going to study the fixed stars and Mars as the planet of conquest. So you can make a screenshot if you like to of this chart. I understand that this entity has died and been resurrected several times, and I shared a synastry chart with the towers of 911 that a student of mine shared, and she had done the asteroids. And when she was doing the asteroids for that event at 8:45 a.m. in New York, I had this real feeling of Osiris and the towers representing a phallus. And we all know that those phalluses are all over in state capitals like Washington, D.C., and the Temple of Isis will always be slightly behind, and then the big lingam will be facing that. And the purpose of the New Jerusalem or Washington, D.C. is that they have been looking for a demiurge god that would be resurrected. So maybe you've heard little videos about that. The Assyrian temples are all about finding a male that can be resurrected. But remember, the Nagai, the females, are the matriarchal DNA for the mitochondrial DNA of the true serpent line. So for Donald Trump, he has been crowned in Israel, as you know, from the line of David. And apparently he has a very rare blood type. And I can share with you some of the things that, again, Jonathan Mercedes, who has written The Blood Wars, is talking about the Nag, the serpent, the draconian lines, and the Anunnaki, and Syrian also, that are combining to become this type of a humanoid here. And this particular line of Donald Trump's line is the Charlemagne line. So we're expecting that he will receive that ring from Charlemagne. And I have posted a picture of it and Donald Trump's chart on my Facebook today, which is lalitakaroli, and on the community page of the YouTube channel, lalitakaroli. And I use my name just so it's very simple that you can all find me. And that is my email also, lalitakaroli@yahoo.com. But I don't want you emailing me long opinions. I just want your name, your birth time exact, your date, and the location of your birth. And I have recently raised my prices because I'm just amazed at what people want from me and want for free. And it's like this Dunkin' Donuts drive-through where they think an astrologer can just like tell them how to get out of the matrix. So I want to remind you that as long as you're here, you're in the matrix. And the sample dismemberment journey is about how to leave this matrix behind and not be attached to it. As long as you're on a body in this matrix and you could potentially die, then you can potentially get out. But the master blood poisoner, who has Mars conjunct his ascendant in Leo at Alpharad, the water serpent Hydra, is known for having produced the massive blood poisoning weapon that was released by Operation Warp Speed. So this is another one of those videos which I don't know if it's going to get out there, but I will do my best. It takes me a very long time, like almost 10 hours to upload a 30-minute video because they're trying to, of course, stop me from putting these videos. So I, again, want to thank Sergeant Schultz for putting my stuff up too, and just people saving it in different places because it's very hard for me to get a video up. It's amazing that I was able to put his chart up. But anyways, the heart of the snake, Alpharad, which is also known as the water serpent or Hydra, is where Donald Trump's Mars is conjunct his ascendant in Leo. And as I told you when I was doing Madonna's stars, like kind of Leo and Virgo are the Draco stars. So it is a very egotistical, very pushy, a lot of anger and aggression in those stars. And the Venus star points back in 1946 for Donald Trump, I did them, but they're irrelevant because he's not going to like go and sing and dance. Well, maybe he is. I heard from some of my clients who knew him in New York many, many years ago, and he was always going to these men's clubs, you know what I mean? Sex with certain persons there in the men's clubs that were people who knew him and saw him in action. He has a real hatred of women also, which is Mars at that degree, at 26 degrees Leo. And it also is an indication of the Hydra who stands alone. And because his blood group is very, very rare and apparently the same as Charlemagne, he has been crowned already as a type of a monarch. And my thought is that his child, his son, also is some kind of a created being, you know, because he had to get with certain persons to create the bloodline continuing. So that's really interesting. She's an interesting person. And I remember the person who identifies as his wife having a speech about what a genius he was that he gave the so quickly through Operation Warp Speed. And yet that very item is the blood poisoning. And for people who don't realize what's going on, all you have to do is talk to an oncologist. We have the weirdest blood poisoning issues. One of my dear friends, her child has that blood poisoning issue and is in serious situation of being isolated now because of that blood poisoning. So, and probably going to have to leave the body soon from that blood poisoning. And we're all not sure what that will mean in the future for the consciousness of that soul. So for those people who do not realize what just happened, we had a massive blood poisoning that is infecting all of us now. And it was perpetrated by this Donald Trump character. Now, when the Twin Towers fell, I noticed the synastry of that seemed to line up with his chart and also the asteroids. Very weird. So whenever you're going to do a death and Osirian resurrection, and I don't know how many bodies and clones and actors that Donald Trump's consciousness is possessing, but he's a serpent. He's a snake from the Nagai line. His midheaven is at Algol, which is Medusa's head, also known as Satan's head or the demon star. His sun is at Bellatrix, which is the Arabian word for the conqueror. So his sun is at Bellatrix, his Uranus is at Rigel. And I've told you Rigel is like the meteorite form of black goo. We had a huge piece of Rigel in Montauk, Long Island for many years. I understand that its effect is over 1,000 miles radius. And yes, I know Harold Vella also talks about black goo. You can stop telling me that now. I mean, obviously I know what it is and he does too. And then there's the natural form of black goo here. And one of my clients recently showed me a picture of Argentina as it connects to Antarctica. And if you Google map that, you will see a serpent's head. And I understand Argentina is the other place where an enormous amount of black goo is. But interesting that he has Uranus conjunct his north node at Rigel, because he really was part of revolutionizing this synthetic demon stuff called black goo so that it could be put into everyone's body. So he is literally the one who stands alone as the mass murderer and blood poisoner. And yet people somehow think that he's the Messiah. That's exactly it, people. He is showing up as a Nagai, a Nog, obviously from his mother's line, but also from his Scottish Freemasonry line of his father. But he is definitely a full moon, 100% showcase, larger than life egotist who knows that he's a draconian. And some of the things that were shared by a person named Azem, A-Z-E-S-M, and he shared this December 14th of 2020, and he shows a picture of Donald Trump. Okay, so you can look at this, December of 2020, And there's Donald Trump, which he calls Charlemagne, telling people that the ETs are pretty nice guys. I can't wait until the original Draco get involved, because I can assure you they aren't happy with some of their counterparts on Earth. So these people know who this guy is. They know he is a part of the Nagai Jesus, their version of Jesus, which was the 9-strand avatar from the house of Solomon. And he says, people who spent time tracking the Merovingian line, of which I did some time ago, knew about Trump, aka Charlemagne, from that Merovingian lineage. And yes, Yeshua was a hybrid of all three tribes, meaning Mary Magdalene and that particular Yeshua, or Jesus, was from the Nagai line, also apparently Syrian and Draconian. So, I mean, that's why they think he's the next Christ, and they're probably going to kill him again, assassinate him, and then bring him back to life again. And then when we hear from Jonathan Mercedes in 2023, okay, so I'm going to try and read it to you because I know it's probably hard to make a screenshot. It's a little bit blurry as I'm holding this up. But Jonathan Mercedes, who's written The Blood Wars, says many people ask about this tie to their version of Yeshua, who was the Nagai, Ashkenazim, Merfolk, people of Atlantis, and has a very long, complex history with the Rh negative bloodlines. The K1A was created when Ursula of the U5 mtDNA, that's mitochondrial DNA, and her niece marry into the bloodline of Japheth, and the father of the Greeks and the Ashkenazim, the father of the Nog, and the O negative mitochondrial DNA with the A positive creates a godhead of the A negative, Ea. So, I mean, you can read this stuff, folks. These people really know their history. And that's why when I was talking about the Viper Queen, Gaga, I was like, look, we're just having, a little tour of the swamp of who's in here with us. On March 1st of 2023, Jonathan Mercedes is also talking about the Pfizer incident and Charlemagne in the limelight again. And when he's talking about Charlemagne, he's talking about Donald Trump and that bloodline and the pushing of World War III. I mean, basically, we've got a picture of all of these leaders serving one master with their hand at the Wailing Wall. And the Wailing Wall is the Ashkenazim serpent line. So you have to understand who they are serving. And there's a quote in here. It says, I have said to go to your current leaders, whoever it may be, and tell them Janus has sent you to align the paths. Failure to do so will not end well. End quote. They will know the meaning of these words. So they worship the Janus chaos god, which needs to have these bloodbaths, these feeds. What's happening in Israel and Gaza is all about, again, getting enough loosh, just like the Twin Towers, to create another resurrected Christ being or Osiris type of being. And I think it's going to be Donald Trump. So here is the ring of Charlemagne. You can see that it has a certain number of jewels and type of jewels. And this is apparently a talisman of Charlemagne, and Jonathan Mercedes says that Trump will take it. So if you know astrology, like I do, you have to know the fixed stars. Remember, I'm not doing sidereal astrology. These are seasonal depictions. Leo is a certain season. It doesn't matter the name of the month. It doesn't even matter what constellation it is, because I'm doing the fixed stars within the seasonal depiction of Leo. So are most astrologers confused? I don't know any astrologer, not one, who is doing what I'm doing. So are they all muddying it up? Yes, all of them. So that's why when people send me like a computerized astrology chart, I can't read that. And I get that every single day, somebody wanting me to comment on their computer. I was like, that's not your chart. That's not your chart. Charts have to be hand-drawn. Computers cannot do it, and you must know your fixed stars. So Mars is like an interloper of the wanderers of the 7 demons or archons that came into the system, but the fixed star behind that is the one you need to know. And at 26 degrees Leo, where he has his Mars and his ascendant, that's Alphared, the water snake or the sea serpent, the one who stands alone and murders by poison, particularly blood poisoning. That's all I have to say. But then you look at his midheaven and his Uranus conjunct Rigel, you can tell what this guy is. This is very interesting. So there is another chart that I wanted to share with you, and the person told me that I could share it, but I cannot share like her personal details. But I'm going to just try to cover this up real quick so that you can see it. It's got a perfect Venus pentagram in it. And this client, when she came to me, she thought she was AB negative, but then she took another blood test and she has her records from when she was pregnant that she was in fact AB negative. And that's what I've said, is that I think this person has had a handler. She was a very talented performer, singing and dancing. She has Terpsichore, the muse, at her IC. She was scheduled to be a great star. And she had a certain number of handlers, and again, had a Vaticana type of early Christian brainwashing through school, and also various Christian camps where she won talent shows. But what's interesting about this client is that she has a lot of missing time and memories that don't add up. And she also said that she has photographs of herself as a child and she does not ever remember being there. But she has the pentagram, and it landed again right on her ascendant, right on her moon, right on her north node, and also her Venus in Gemini, right on her Eris in Aries. So this is another client who could have been, a Hollywood star. And she says that she actually feels like there's another identity. And I explained to her that they can make a virtual copy of you, like recording you, taking some of your DNA, recording you singing since you were a child. And they may have cloned her because she has another like doppelganger feeling of still being up in front of audiences and the endorphin rush of like millions of people watching her sing and participating, singing with her. And she says that she swears that her life did not happen like she saw it in a lot of photographs, except that there she is in that picture. So this is someone who I think had the MK Ultra training, the Monarch training, went to all of those religious but also highly sexual experiences in Christian type of environments. And then she has very interesting children. Her father was a savant. And yes, her Saturn is in Scorpio, and so is her moon in Scorpio. So her father was a genius, is a genius. And so we're looking at someone who could have sold her soul and done various sacrifices. In fact, her grandmother died young on one of her star points. And that sent her into a spin of having sex with people, and then having to like redeem herself in her Christian school through like some kind of like telling the priest and then going through sexual rehab. And I can just imagine like how crazy this must be to be like pointed at by your entire class and then having to go to sexual rehab, but tell your bad deed to the priest again and again. So then I think she was used as a breeder, because then she was sent a particular handler and her blood type changed to AB negative. And I think she was used as a breeder, and I've sent her the documents on the MK Ultra and Monarch training so she can recover her memories. She's working with a reverse speech analyst, a very famous one named David, who is helping her reverse her speech to recover her memories and really understand what happened. So this is some more like detailed astrology. I'm completely booked for April, so do not think that you're going to get a session anytime soon. And I'm limiting my sessions. I don't respond to everyone. Some emails I just full on delete. I have to choose to do your chart with you and feel, deep in my body that we're a match and I will do your chart. Otherwise, if I'm not responding to you, you can try again, but if I'm not responding to you over and over, it's because I just cannot do another session for you, or I am completely booked as I am. I'm completely booked for April. But I want all of you to study. And remember, you can go to Vimeo, and the title is Galactic Astrology. And you're going to go back and see all the iterations of me when I was trying to understand also what is Isis and Osiris and what is Sophia and what is the moon and all the iterations of me back when I was figuring it out. Right now, at this point, I feel like I really figured it out, and I'm on to kind of the blood groups within the charts. And then also we've got this Martian conqueror, blood poisoner that people are no doubt touting as the next Messiah. So realize that this guy is a blood drinker. He has a Saturn-Venus conjunction in the 12th house. And what I understand from the people who knew him back in the day, he was definitely having sex with a lot of people in men's clubs, Playboy type of clubs. So that's his Saturn-Venus in the 12th house. And I said that makes a pedophile. And then Chiron and Juno are conjunct smack in the middle of his 3rd house. He'll always have weird hybridized love relationships, Chiron being the wound of rape and hybridization and outcast beings, conjunct his Juno. So I think he had to get with certain people to continue this line. Everyone finds his marriage is so strange, and so do I. Well, there it is. It's the Chiron-Juno conjunction that this entity has. Can he jump bodies? Absolutely. All the reptilians and Nagai are wearing human spacesuits, but they're not. So he can jump bodies, yes. And if you read Danielle Tressani's most recent book about the singularity and how you can jump into an airplane, you can jump into anything once you have accepted the singularity. He's an immortal. And when I read her book about how they do that with the Hebrew words and the geometries, it's really clear that these people have known how to do this for quite some time. Also, when I included the trans-Neptunian object Varuna in his chart, Varuna did give him a big grand trine in fire, and Varuna is a trans-Neptunian object that would lead to immortality, and Jeffrey Dahmer had that at his vertex. So it's possible Donald Trump can jump into whatever body he wants to, but everyone who's calling him the Messiah, you have to realize you're calling on a serpent who is a massive poisoner and stands to be a monarch like Charlemagne, who is a world leader and is a total serpent. So if you don't understand yet what is going on here, the draconian, Anunnaki, serpent, and partly Syrian races are trying to combine into one horrible vampire cyborg race. So that is what's going on. I have references right from the Nagai people. They know who he is, and he has a very particular blood type, which I guess I'm going to just have to say this again in case you missed it. He is the Charlemagne Trump E1B1B1 blood type. And if you don't understand what that is, you just have to do more research. I'm not answering these questions because I'm not a genealogist. I study the Blood Wars material, And I'm trying to explain to you what is going on here. So hopefully that did something. Donald Trump, Alfred, the Great Hydra. How about that for a title? All right, bye-bye for now.